Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. By the time that you're watching this video, I hope all of you out there are having a fantastic weekend. Coming up here on the show, going to open up the floor and talk about the Niners with all of the faithful, with the Niner gang, with the Niner Empire as part of our mailbag here on the show. Before we take your questions, a programming reminder, we're going to be live for a watch party on Sunday. Niners on the road to play the New York Giants. We'll be live for a pregame show, live during the game, live for a postgame show as well. You don't want to miss it. It's the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. So lock us in and subscribe, but also turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime I push out a video, anytime we go live, you will get that push notification. Let's begin here with Christopher Green, $5 super chat. Realistically, what are the chances of getting Trey Hendrickson? It really comes down to what happens with the Bengals this week. Bengals play the Chicago Bears. If they lose, I think that enhances the chances of the Bengals trading him away because he's on an expiring contract. He wanted to stay long-term. He wanted to sign a long-term deal. The Bengals, a historically cheap organization, didn't want to give him that long-term contract. And so they could get value back for a player who they would otherwise lose for nothing in free agency. The thing that throws a wrench into all of this is that the AFC North has been a horrible division. The Steelers have 4 wins. The Ravens have 3. They're in the mix. But so too are the Browns with 2 wins. And the Bengals have 3 wins. And so things are so close in that division where Cincinnati could say, let's hold on to Hendrickson despite our record. Because if we can hover around 500, Joe Burrow comes back in December, we'll have an opportunity to potentially make it to the playoffs. And if the Bengals are in the playoffs, I'm telling you this right now, no team will want to face them because they're going to have to go up against Joe Burrow, who, when healthy, is a top 3 quarterback in football. So I'd say the chances are solid for the Niners to bring in Trey Hendrickson. They really want him. It all comes down to what Cincinnati will do. Report, maybe trade Jauan Jennings and a pick to the Las Vegas Raiders for Jakobi Meyers. I like Jakobi Meyers as a player. I like Jauan Jennings as a player when he has good body language. He's not moping and complaining, when he doesn't have a bad attitude, and he's actually catching the football. But all of those issues have been issues this year. Now, I would say that Jennings and Meyers are somewhat similar players. Meyers is a little bit faster. I did say this prior to the year, that I think the deal that Jennings should be looking at getting is the Jakobi Meyers contract that he got a few years ago from the Raiders, right in that $15 million per year range. But why I don't think that trade makes sense is because Jennings is on the final year of his contract. Meyers is going to be a free agent after this year. So you'd basically be swapping wide receivers while losing them after the season, I would imagine. Matthew Short, $5. I would love to see Will McDonald on this team as a young player. He has a great motor, but do you think that the Jets would part with him? So the Jets are another team that could go on a fire sale going into the trade deadline. And there are 2 pass rushers on that team who they could part ways with. 1, Jermaine Johnson, and 2, Will McDonald. I like Will McDonald as a player. 15th overall pick in the 2023 draft. Obviously has that familiarity with Robert Saleh. He was the head coach for the team when they drafted him in that first round. Saleh also knows Jermaine Johnson. Will McDonald, 6'4", 245. Johnson's a little bit bigger. McDonald has had some success in his career. 3 sacks in year 1, 10.5 last year. And obviously Saleh got fired a little more than a year ago at this point last year. 3 sacks this year. He is a good player, has a good motor. He'd be under contract for potentially 2 more years if you exercise his 5th-year option. But because of that, he could be a young building block who the Jets want to keep, whereas Jermaine Johnson going to be a free agent after this year, I believe. Soulless, what about going after Maxx Crosby? Now, he would be a dream target for me. He'd be number 1 ahead of Trey Hendrickson. Maxx Crosby's the better player. He's the younger player. He would be the perfect Niner. Loves the game of football, plays the game the right way, always gives it 110%, empties the gas tank, plays with so much hustle, plays with so much toughness, plays with so much swagger, never gives up on a play. I mean, he has this relentless pursuit to be great, both as an athlete, but when he gets in between the lines on any given snap. But the Raiders have told him, we're not trading you. Maxx Crosby has told the Raiders, I'm fine with being here. I personally don't want to see him waste his career with an awful organization, but if he wants to go down as a Raider, great. That's fine. Respect to him. Gabriel Barrios, $2 super chat. You think Fred Warner can be back for later in the playoffs? I highly doubt it. I think the only reason that would be a possibility is if San Francisco made it to the Super Bowl, which would be crazy. I mean, can you imagine the Niners make it to Super Bowl 60? It's at Levi's Stadium. And Fred Warner, who got hurt against the Bucs, makes his return and comes out of the tunnel at the site of the Super Bowl, playing for the Niners in front of a lot of Niner fans at home. That would be crazy. Just don't see it happening. We can dream, though. Ricardo, hey, Chase, do you think the Niners should trade for offensive linemen? I mean, that would be ideal, but offensive linemen are very hard to be had at the NFL trade deadline because even bad teams value offensive linemen. So I think what's going to happen with the Niners, they could get Ben Bartch back at left guard. He's going to help and be a little bit better than Connor Colby, although Ben Bartch has always been injured throughout his career. For the 2026 draft, though, I want to see San Francisco go all in on offensive line. Now, they probably won't do it because they don't value offensive linemen enough, but that's what they should do. Trent Williams, old, showing his age. They don't have a left guard. They don't have a good enough center, and hopefully Dominic Pooney can improve as he gets healthier. We'll get to more of your questions coming up, but this episode of the 49ers Report is brought to you by PrizePicks, the hard-hitting football action, even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right, yeah, it never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. This is America's #1 fantasy sports app. Pick, predict, play. Available in 45 states across America. You can get your picks in less than 60 seconds. All you have to do is choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win some big-time money. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks. You can also pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Christian McCaffrey's receiving, rush yards, and touchdowns. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on PrizePicks. You can also follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app, copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Janie Wyatt, will the Niners trade for a cornerback? I know a lot of people have been down on Renardo Green this year. Obviously, his play has been up and down. As far as giving up catches and receiving yards, he's been pretty good. As far as some of the other things, there's no doubt he struggled a little bit. I think the Niners want to see him grow. They love Diamador Lenore, has been one of the top shutdown corners in the NFL. They have Upton Stout in the slot, who they really like. He's had some good moments. He's had some bad moments. Obviously, that's going to happen with some rookie players. I don't see cornerback as being a move that the Niners make. N8 Bolden, Chase, why do you think the 49ers haven't reached out to John Feliciano about our guard injuries and our troubles? Probably because he had that knee injury last year, couldn't get healthy, and they have concerns about that. Also an older player. I will say in 2023, he stepped in and he played some really good football at both guard spots. He can also play center. He's done that in his career. He has said, look, John Lynch, I'm a call away. And he said to a question, hey, John, why did you retire? He had said, look, I retired because I couldn't get my knee right. But it seems as though he'd be interested in coming back. But he's an older player, has injury history with San Francisco, and I think they're just not going to go that route. I-Man Report, I think Miami is the Niners' best trade partner without them, or with them, about to have a fire sale. So I'm recording the show on Thursday, and the Dolphins play the Baltimore Ravens tonight. They have 2 wins on the year. They've beaten the Atlanta Falcons. They beat the New York Jets. If the Dolphins lose badly to Baltimore, they could go into sell mode. And that game on Thursday night is going to determine a lot as far as which players could be available, both for Baltimore, both for Miami, but what players on those teams could give up, or what players on those teams could be available in a trade. So basically what other teams could do in targeting their players. So I agree. Dolphins are a prime team to look at defensive end specifically. You have Jalen Phillips and you have Bradley Chubb. For teams that need safety help, Minkah Fitzpatrick would be fascinating. Zypher, how is Ben Bartch looking in terms of his injury? The Niners open up his practice window so he can come back at any point. They have 3 weeks in order to activate him. And so he's an upgrade over Connor Colby at this point of their respective careers. But the thing with Bartch, always hurt. Dev, you think the Niners could make a pitch at Kaiser White if the Titans are willing to trade? Potentially, and I like Kaiser White. He's been a tackling machine. He's had multiple 100-plus tackle seasons over the last few years. Obviously, the Titans are horrendous. They only have 1 win this year. They're in line to get that number 1 pick. And a veteran on an expiring deal who's very cheap at linebacker could pique the Niners' interest if they don't believe in their young players there. Boxing fan, $5 super chat. Who's a realistic offensive tackle who could fall to them? You also don't want to draft one just because you need one top offensive tackle. They're not diamonds in the rough. Yeah, so what I want the Niners to do, they've said, we prioritize early picks, skill players, late picks, offensive linemen. Well, you haven't hit on those late round offensive linemen. So, look, I'm in the thick of the NFL season. I watch college football every single Saturday. As far as like scouting and doing deep dives on prospects, I'm not really there yet as far as offensive tackles. But let's take a look at some of the top offensive tackles on the 2026 ESPN big board. Spencer Fano, Utah. Francis Mayaga, Miami. Caden Proctor, Alabama, although his tape's iffy, I know that. Caleb Lomu, Utah. Jennings Dunker, Iowa. Caleb Tiernan, Northwestern. Trevor Gooseby, Texas. Isaiah World, Oregon. So those are the top players right now at offensive tackle. Leon Sandcastle, what's up, legend? Eric Kendricks has been visiting teams. Is that bridge burned or is he an option? It's funny because he signed the deal verbally, or I guess didn't sign it. He agreed to a deal verbally to use the right verbiage with the Niners last year. And then he ended up spurning the Niners, went to the Dallas Cowboys, didn't play poorly, and then that left the Niners with Devondre Campbell, and obviously that ended up being a disaster. I don't think the bridge is burned, right? I mean, that was last year. Yeah, the Niners thought that they were going to bring him in. He signed with Dallas, had a solid year. He's at the end of the road as far as his professional football career, but you're looking for somebody to potentially help you right now. And if you think Eric Kendricks can help you right now, who cares about the situation that happened last year? All right, who you got in this football game coming up on Sunday? SF for the 49ers, NYG for the New York Giants. Join the conversation down in the comment section, and we'll see you soon.